to my IG live. It's been a while since I came live on IG, so let's see who joins us here in a moment. This is going to be a short live session. I wanted to share how to the things that shape the identities of our young people. So if you are here, please let me know that you are here. Pastor one more, I see you. Good afternoon from here. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Yes. Okay, so very quickly, like I said, it's going to be a short one. There are 4 things I wanted to share in this live session. Like I mentioned, is the things that quietly shape the identities of our young people. And sometimes I see a lot of parents intentionally or unintentionally find themselves indulging their kids in some of this stuff. Number 1 is the subject of failure. Subject of failure. The word failure strikes up a lot of emotion in the heart of parents. So we don't want our kids to fail. You don't want you want this perfect child, and there are no perfect people anywhere. There is no perfect teenager, there is no perfect child in the world. And so if you are looking to raise a perfect child, that's already the beginning of failure. Okay, failure without an attempt to immediately rescue your child is a setup. We want to allow children to, we want to protect children. That's the point. We want to shield children from failure. But I'm saying that you need to allow your child to fail. You need to allow your child to fail. Failure has a way of building resilience. If a child has never learned to struggle, has never learned to, even in normal play with their peers, that place where somebody is going to laugh at you. Yes, people are going to laugh at you. There's really nothing you can do about that. People are going to laugh at you. You're going to try to climb. You're going to try to walk as a baby and then hit your bum on the floor, and people are going to either clap or laugh. It's the natural system of life. But when I see parents who always want to prevent their children from failing, I'm wondering exactly what you try to achieve. When children are allowed to face manageable failure, manageable struggles, manageable setbacks, without instant intervention from an adult, without instant intervention from a parent, you are teaching that child to develop emotional strength. You're teaching that child to develop problem-solving capacity, and that's really where confidence is built from. You see, there's a type of confidence that is built by affirmation, all the positive affirmation, and affirmations are powerful. I use them a lot. However, in the laws of faith, you need to understand that there is faith in confession, but there is faith in action. So nothing will build your faith like taking action on the things you're trying to do. How does this apply to our teenagers? Positive confession, positive affirmation, positive speaking has a limit to where it goes. You say that thing for so long and there is no action to back it up, you are soon going to lose any confidence that you built in the process. So confidence is built, internal confidence is built from the child's ability to try and fail and recover and come back and try again. Okay, but that instant rescue, when you instantly rush to rescue, you don't want them to struggle. You don't want, oh, my baby, I don't want them to fail and things like that. That instant rescue teaches dependency. It teaches dependency. So your child learns to depend on that rescue and learns to expect that rescue. And somewhere along the line, later on in life, when that thing is not coming, they don't know how to respond any longer. So the first part is failure. But if you let them sit with their struggle, sit with their emotion, you're not always going to feel happy. Sometimes you're going to feel sad. Sometimes you're going to feel unmotivated. If you let your child sit with that struggle, you teach them to process the struggle, and it's in that process that they learn mastery. Mastery in the thing that they're trying to solve, mastery in themselves, mastery in their emotions, and of course their identity. So little struggles, you want to allow little struggles in their lives. Those little struggles will build the nervous system and the ability for their systems to tolerate pressure. That is really the role of failure. Somebody said something I found very profound, that you don't learn anything from success. All of the lessons that you learn in life will come from the place of struggle and from the place of failure. Resilience cannot be taught by overprotecting children. Resilience is formed. It is formed through discomfort, the discomfort of pain, of struggle, and of failure. What's the second point of shaping a healthy identity for teenagers? Number 2 is boredom. Again, it's a place where, because we live in an internet-driven generation, there's something has to be happening at every point in time. We don't want to sit quietly. We're no longer comfortable. Even as adults, you realize that you are not comfortable with not doing anything. Something has to be going on. You have to be pressing something, you have to be watching something, you have to be listening to something. The brain is constantly stimulated. The brain is constantly active and doing something. There is no rebound. There is no pause. There is no time for the brain to actually activate the default mode network. That network helps to build emotional depth. So unstructured time, which is the way I describe it in my book, The Gift of Boredom, because I teach young people that boredom is a gift. Unstructured time allows your brain to get into that mode, to learn, to reflect, to learn self-reflection, to practice imagination. It's okay to pick up a piece of paper and tear it into shreds or squeeze it and try to make something out of nothing. Boredom is really something that our young people are missing out on. It creates a lot of opportunity for emotional processing and for identity formation. But I see a lot of young persons who are missing out on these, and it is affecting how they show up in life. It's affecting how they define their identity. What happens exactly during boredom is, it's in boredom that you learn self-talk. Whether that self-talk is positive or negative, it's when you learn to sit by yourself that you engage in that internal dialogue. That internal dialogue that helps you to, refine how you show up exactly when the next activity comes up. Creativity and self-awareness grows in the place of boredom. Emotional regulation improves in the place of boredom. A child who cannot learn how to sit quietly for a few minutes without something to do, without the next screen, without the next toy, without the next source of noise, is going to really have issues. Even in their social interactions, you're going to see this thing there. They don't know how to keep quiet. They don't know when to pause and when to engage in the conversation. Constant stimulation is a problem that we are seeing even amongst adults, but more so in the lives of young people that we are raising. So there are phones, there is social media, there's always the next reel. Okay, you don't even have patience to sit in this session for 15 minutes because you want to jump to the next reel that comes with a jump cut, and activate your brain again like that. So you are overshadowed as an adult, so you are also overshadowing your kids. It blocks the brain. The brain no longer has the capacity to learn, to practice internal connection. So we struggle with building relationships. Okay, we struggle with practicing stillness. We struggle with spiritual exercises like devotion, like meditation, like prayer, like anything that requires pause and connection is a difficult task for today's teenager, because nobody is really teaching these things. But boredom is a gift. Like I said, boredom is not a problem for you to fix again for your child. It's not a problem for you to solve. It is a gift. It is a space where you allow your identity to speak to you, like I said, in that internal conversation that you learn to have when you are bored. Number 3 is delaying exposure to devices, to social media and gadgets. I was talking to a young boy yesterday, and we had a long talk on this subject of digital devices and how it creates distraction very smart guy, intelligent person. But he himself knows, because it was a session that the mom scheduled, and we were trying to deal with something else. In the course of the conversation, he came up and he said, "This is really the problem. Oh, I need to find a way to deal with this." And so a lot of young people also know that they are struggling with digital addictions. I wrote a book titled Overcoming Smartphone Addiction, where I teach young people and parents who care to listen that early exposure to all of these algorithm-driven content, algorithm-driven environment, when you expose your child too early into that space, it shapes their identity around external validation instead of internal values and formation. So that child learns to depend on likes, on comments, and there are trolls out there waiting for your child to show up. So my advice to parents is delay exposure to gadgets, to digital media. Or if you can drag it to 18, that's fine, but at least 16-year-olds. I don't know why your 10-year-old is on social media. I don't know why I see 10-year-olds on Instagram. It baffles me. I never really can understand it, because even as an adult, it's a whole lot. All right, it's a whole lot. The bombardment. So you wonder why children can no longer sit in class to learn, because classroom is not highlight reel. You have to sit down. You cannot go to the lab and fiddle with a few experiments, because it's not highlight reel. You have to sit with the process. There's no amount of impatience that can make the reaction go faster than it was designed to go. But our students are struggling with all of this. Developmental reasoning is missing out because of early exposure to curated content. Okay, of course, we did a session recently for parents where we were discussing executive functioning skills, and we're talking about the fact that the prefrontal cortex, the brain of your child that is responsible for decision making and all of that, is not really properly mature until they are young adults. Okay, so while that thing is still maturing and you throw this child into the space, you are also killing the development of the mental capacities of that child. Social comparison is another problem that comes with early exposure to social media. So that whole thing spikes anxiety and identity confusion. You want to help your child to stay away from those avoidable challenges before they mature. If you throw them into social media before time, social media is dopamine driven. It's driven to give you the next kick, the next high. Social media addiction is actually the same thing like any other addiction you can think of. Pornography, masturbation, even substance abuse. All of these play in the same mix. But if you frame that child's identity before that exposure, we're not saying that your child is anti-technology. I tell parents that there's a difference between social media savvy and tech savvy. So you can have a child who is not on social media, but they are actually trained to become tech savvy, to become technologically smart and intelligent, so that they actually learn to build solutions, create solutions, and solve real problems before they start interacting with this comparison-driven culture that we have built around social media. It is about timing. It is about developmental readiness for your child before they show up in this part of the world. So if you give access before their identity is formed, what they are creating for your child is unnecessary pressure. Identity before exposure will build wisdom in the child before they come on the scene. Number 4, and I think this is the last part because it's 15 minutes past 12. We wanted to keep this very, very short. Number 4 is what I call the third environment. So the first environment is the home. Think of agents of socialization, right? The second environment is the school. There needs to be a third environment for your child if they are going to have a balanced, healthy identity. If your child's life is built just around the home and the school, then something is missing. Think about sports activities. Think about the scouts. When we're growing up, we have the scouts, we have the girls brigades, and all of those things. That third environment actually is where your child shows up outside of all the familiarity of home and school. They learn to be seen, they learn to be guided. That third environment is also where they learn to be stretched socially, because the home, of course, is a safe space, The school is also but the third environment is actually a safe space, but it's a space that safely stretches the identity of your child, gives them that social tension that they need to wrestle with. So think about a mentorship environment, mentorship communities, faith-based communities, maybe youth churches and all of that, coaching groups like the Thrive Mentorship Academy that we have built. In the home, they learn value. In the school, they learn structure. But I have been making this argument that it is relationships in our life that determine the quality of our lives at the end of the day. The third place, the third environment is where your child is going to learn to define themselves and to define their sense of belonging. Identity of every young person grows where that young person is seen and known, not necessarily where they are managed. So those are the 4 things I want to share with you this afternoon that will quietly shape the identity of your child. And by the way, I'm also going to invite you for Social Sense. Social Sense is our social clarity program for young people. There's a lot of content on that on our IG page. So right after this live, you can go through our IG page and register your child for Social Sense. It's happening next week. We have changed the date, so it's 26th of February to 28th of February, 3 days, and we're going to immerse children in learning how to engage, how to show up socially without losing their identity, how to make friends without losing their values. All right, so that's it for today. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much for joining me. Bye.